The maritime front. The Black Sea is in reliable hands. The enemy will receive a powerful blow from the Ukrainian forces. A real sensation. Targets are being destroyed thanks to the Titans. This vessel is now creating new history. All Russian efforts come to nothing. How do we manage to defend cities and ports from enemy drone raids? More on this in our report.
This is the patrol boat defending Odessa.
I don't see any truce, unfortunately.
It goes out to sea during air raids.
We've traveled this route many times.
The crew of which shoots down drones heading towards the city.
It was a sleepless night.
Did you sleep?
About 2 hours.
This is our report from our sea. It may seem like a leisurely sea trip, but in reality, it's a patrol by the Navy's boat. The commander says we are on the maritime front line.
The Black Sea is a line of combat engagement. We are currently at the 0 point with you.
The task of the boat is to make this area as safe as possible for cargo ships. And now I am looking at the so-called grain corridor. These ships have already loaded our grain and it is heading out into the world. Volodymyr Tor is well acquainted with this route.
Yes, we have traveled this route many times.
Previously, this vessel was in service with the U.S. Coast Guard, an island-class boat, fast-moving. It has been in these waters for 6 years now.
Initially, it was quite difficult to keep it on a set course, especially when the storm was 2 to 3 points. The boat deviates significantly from the course, but over time, let's say, I learned to keep it on course very well. So now it's not very difficult for me.
Such patrol boats in the Black Sea perform 3 main functions. The first is searching for mines here. The second is functioning as Omnen air defense and searching for Shaheds in the sky. And the third is operating against enemy ships. Danilo observes the maritime front line. Mines stand out on the water's surface, and during air raids, Shaheds are in the sky.
I detect aerial targets during air raids, Shaheds, missiles, and report they are them.
Danilo says that here at sea he feels even safer than in the city, even when large enemy drones explode nearby.
If you've already heard it, then you're glad that at least you've heard it, that you're alive.
Dennis is directly involved in the shooting down.
The sea is in my blood.
He is from Odessa and has been going to sea on combat missions for 3.5 years. Initially, he was a communications officer, but his true passion is his anti-aircraft gun.
This is the U-2M3 anti-aircraft system.
Dennis is younger than both this boat and his weapon. The night before our joint patrol, he hardly slept and tried to shoot down the Shaheds that were massively flying towards Odessa during a storm.
When I arrived at Combat Readiness Number 1, my entire vest and helmet were wet, and there was a puddle of water on the seat. I quickly wiped it off with my hand, put on the vest and helmet, and that was it.
He has already shot down more than one Shahed, and he talks about it with enthusiasm.
Adrenaline was playing a big role, and with the help of the commander, he guided me. Because it's very dark in the sea, they're almost invisible. Well, I can't see them. The commander has a radar through which he sees, guides me, tells me the distance, how to aim, and gives the command to open fire.
The commander of the patrol boat, Mikhailo Moore, has been patrolling here for 6 years, and in the last 3, he hasn't seen a maritime truce.
Unfortunately, unlike the statements of the not-so-honorable Mr. Vladimir Putin, there is no truce at sea in the Black Sea. I can say this with full confidence, both during the period, the 30-day ceasefire period, when it was announced, and during that one-day Easter truce, the enemy's electronic warfare systems were still operational, and their intelligence systems were in use.
Mikhailo explains Shaheds fly to Odessa differently each time.
Each route is unique, each trajectory is unique.
But recently, there are more threats not from the air, but from the water. In this way, the Russians are charting routes with unmanned marine drones.
Firstly, they carry a larger amount of hexogen, TNT, in TNT equivalent. This amount can vary from 150 kilograms to 400, which is a lot, 400 kilograms.
Of course, it would be easier to resist the Russian occupiers who are encroaching on our Black Sea if we had more of such boats.
The US has 3 of them, ours Ukrainian ones. Officially transferred, that's all. That's it. But for now, we cannot receive these boats that are in the US.
The Americans were supposed to decommission, repair, and send 3 more of such boats to Ukraine. Mikhailo was supposed to oversee this process as the mission commander in the US. But Donald Trump, almost immediately after his inauguration, froze the program and the order was given to return the mission to Ukraine.
Then once it was decided, we were given a week to pack. Home.
As of now, this stage of American support remains on hold. But despite everything, the Ukrainian naval forces continue to defend Odessa, the ports, and the world's food security. From the Maritime Front, Natalia Nahorna, Ihor Siri, Vitaly Ovsyanikov, and Natalia Kusherenko, TSN 1+1 United News.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
News Marathon.
And for more impactful events from the life of Ukraine and the world, read on the Telegram channel Times of Ukraine. Only fresh news and verified information. See the message in the description below, the video. Meanwhile, Russian aviation has gone into oblivion. The GUR destroyed enemy aircraft. These shots are mesmerizing. Putin is panicking. A step away from canceling the parade on May 9th. A strike on Red Square. The dictator is also in complete trouble on the front. The airborne work of Ukrainian forces is at the highest level. How do our forces manage to keep the enemy in fear? All the details in just a moment.
An unprecedented incident occurred in the Black Sea waters. For the first time in the history of world wars, a naval drone destroyed not 1 but 2 enemy fighters at once. These were Russian Su-30s that were attempting to counter Ukrainian naval drones. But instead of being hunters, they became the prey. This strike marked a true breakthrough in the field of asymmetric warfare. Previously, unmanned platforms had only managed to shoot down helicopters. Specifically, Ukrainian forces had already accounted for 2 Mi-8s, eliminated in similar operations. But for the first time, combat aviation was targeted by a maritime drone. According to reports, one of the enemy jets was shot down near the port of Novorossiysk, Urash, where operatives from the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine were working closely with the security service and defense forces. The fighter jet was hit by a missile launched from the Magura maritime drone platform. These drones have repeatedly inflicted significant losses on the Russian Federation's fleet. The Russians could not conceal the scale of the failure. Mentions of luring immediately began to appear in Russian Telegram channels. This is how they refer to the Ukrainian tactic where drones approach targets, provoking enemy aircraft to take off. At that moment, a precise strike is delivered on the aircraft. In fact, Ukrainian maritime drones have become not only a means of attack but also a trap. This incident once again underscores that the Russian army, despite all claims of full control over the maritime space, has lost the initiative even at its own naval bases. Ukrainian drones are no longer just breaking through to coastal infrastructure. They are effectively destroying aerial targets, changing the rules of the game at sea. The Russian authorities once again demonstrate that even Victory Day can be conducted in the context of bunkers and electronic warfare. On May 9th, the Kremlin announced a ceremonial military parade in Moscow. However, the preparations for it look more like an evacuation than a celebration. The festive initiative turned out to be so appealing and safe that all the foreign guests who were planned to be invited suddenly fell ill en masse. None of the leaders of friendly countries wanted to take the risk, even for the sake of the red carpet under the Kremlin walls. Meanwhile, the military equipment that was supposed to be displayed at the parade was hastily covered with camouflage nets. The problem was that there weren't enough nets and some equipment had to be covered literally with scraps. But the most telling step was the decision to activate electronic warfare systems in the city for the entire day of the parade. Because of this, it was officially announced in Moscow, there will be no mobile connection. The formal explanation is as follows: due to the holding of festive events. How exactly the internet interferes with the festivities is not specified. The culmination was the statement by Press Secretary Peskov saying that President Putin will not be able to attend the parade in person this year due to a tight schedule, so he will join via video link. Evidently, a tight schedule is synonymous with the word fear, because a parade, where even the commander-in-chief does not dare to appear, physically looks more like a target than a celebration. And the real reason seems obvious. fear of drones, which have already flown deep into the rear of the Russian Federation several times. And even Russia's main propaganda event, the Victory Parade, is turning into a parade of paranoia. Meanwhile, the operators of the Phoenix unit's strike drones reported another successful week of work on the front line. In the past 7 days, the fighters managed to destroy a significant amount of Russian equipment and personnel, inflicting noticeable losses on the enemy. In particular, during the execution of combat missions, they destroyed Tor M2 anti-aircraft missile systems, 2 Mr. S's self-propelled artillery units, 3 tanks, 30mm caliber guns, 17 military trucks, and 3 passenger cars used by the occupiers. These targets were hit using FPV drones, guided drops, and other means that the Phoenix unit effectively utilizes in the combat zone. Thus, in just 1 week, the enemy lost equipment equivalent to the armament of several companies. The strike work of Phoenix once again proves air control and precise targeting are the key to destroying enemy resources without direct confrontation. Airborne operations at their peak, results of the 3rd Battalion of the 79th Brigade for April. The fighters of the 3rd Airborne Assault Battalion of the 79th Separate Airborne Assault Brigade continue to destroy the enemy daily, demonstrating skill and coordinated work during combat operations in the Donetsk region. In April 2025, the unit inflicted significant losses on the occupiers, carrying out precise and effective airstrikes, primarily using strike UAVs. Every destroyed tank, truck, or bunker is not just a technical target, but a reduction in the combat capabilities of the Russian army. Currently, the battalion is performing the most complex tasks in the defense of the settlement of Konstantinopel, located in the Donetsk region. This direction remains one of the hottest on the front line, and it is there that the paratroopers consistently demonstrate their endurance, determination, and professionalism. While the enemy tries to advance, Ukrainian paratroopers continue to methodically drive them out of their fortifications, destroying enemy resources and maintaining the defensive line. The Pokrovsk direction is the hottest section of the front. Amid constant massive assaults with up to 100 attacks per day, the Russians are strengthening logistics and engineering cover, particularly near the village of Kalivka on the E50 highway, where the enemy is constructing net tunnels to protect equipment from FPV drones. These engineering structures allow for the supply of resources towards Selidov and Novohrodivka, key nodes of the offensive. This indicates long-term preparation to maintain pressure in this direction. The enemy is trying to stabilize the rear and reduce the vulnerability of logistics. In the Kupiansk direction, preparations for a new offensive are underway. Russia is preparing for a summer escalation precisely here. The likely goal is to reach the Oskil River and the R79 highway, which would open a direct route to Kupiansk. But the situation is not easy for the enemy. The armed forces of Ukraine are destroying pontoons, which stops the mass transfer of enemy equipment. Fighting is taking place in forest belts and fields. The advancement is minimal. The enemy has also started using fishing nets, which create corridors for equipment. They are less explosive for FPV drones compared to chain-link fences. Russia is trying to find solutions for anti-drone defense ahead of a possible summer offensive, but the armed forces of Ukraine are successfully disrupting the enemy's logistics at water crossings and supply routes. The strategic picture is as follows: anticipation of summer escalation in both the Pokrovsk and Kupiansk directions. Active preparations for the offensive are being recorded. Massive assaults, engineering structures, defense of logistical chains. Analysts predict that it is in the summer of 25th year that Russia might attempt to execute a large-scale breakthrough. However, the actions of the armed forces of Ukraine, the destruction of pontoons, drone attacks, and coordinated defense are already hindering Russian plans. Russia continues its attempts to advance in the west, but is forced to improvise with logistics, engineering, and even drone defense tactics. Ukraine is successfully adapting, disrupting the enemy's pace even at the approaches. In the summer, attempts at a large-scale offensive should be expected, but the Ukrainian defense currently remains resilient and is systematically preparing for a new wave of